In a world where the hunger for fame and fortune can drive people to unimaginable lengths, one young woman's story stands as a chilling testament to the dark side of ambition. She was a slay queen who chased clout, fame, and money with a relentless passion. But the price she paid for her desires will leave you utterly speechless. This is the shocking tale of a young girl who, in her desperate quest for a luxurious lifestyle, embarked on a one-year challenge that spiraled into a nightmare of horror, betrayal, and a sinister secret tied to a wealthy man's evil ritual. She thought she was on the path to winning it all, but by the time she realized the true cost, it was far, far too late. Her name was Amara, and she was a vibrant, beautiful girl from a humble background, with eyes that sparkled with dreams bigger than her small village could contain. She spent her days scrolling through social media, mesmerized by the dazzling lives of slay queens and influencers. She saw their designer clothes, their lavish vacations, their expensive cars, and their seemingly endless supply of cash. To Amara, this wasn't just a lifestyle. It was the ultimate symbol of success, a world away from her own reality of struggle and scarcity. She yearned for the glamour, the adoration, and the power that came with that life. She didn't just want to be like them. She needed to be one of them, no matter the sacrifice. Her opportunity arrived in the most unexpected and bizarre way possible. Through a friend of a friend, she was introduced to a wealthy, enigmatic businessman known only as Chief Adebayo. He was a man who moved in powerful circles, known for his immense wealth and his penchant for eccentric propositions. When Amara finally met him in his opulent mansion, a palace of marble and gold, he laid out an offer that was as shocking as it was tempting. He looked her in the eye, his gaze intense and unnerving, and proposed a challenge. He would give her 50 million naira in cash, a sum that could change her life and the lives of her entire family forever. But there was one condition, a single horrifying rule she had to follow for 1 full year. She was not allowed to bathe. Not a single drop of water could touch her skin for 365 days. Amara was stunned. The idea was repulsive, a violation of basic human hygiene. But then she looked around Chief Adebayo's mansion, at the glistening chandeliers and the priceless art, and her mind immediately flashed to the 50 million. She imagined the life it could buy her, the designer bags, the luxury apartment in Lagos, the respect and envy of everyone she knew. It would be her ticket out of poverty and into the elite world she so desperately craved. The disgust she felt was quickly overshadowed by the blinding allure of the money. A year seemed like a long time, but for 50 million naira, she convinced herself it was a small price to pay. She believed she could endure anything for that kind of reward. With a heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement, she accepted Chief Adebayo's twisted deal. The first few weeks of the challenge were surprisingly manageable for Amara. She was given a generous allowance by Chief Adebayo to maintain her slay queen image, and she dove headfirst into her new persona. She bought the most expensive perfumes, deodorants, and body sprays she could find, creating a powerful cocktail of scents to mask the growing odor. She wore layers of glamorous clothing, her style becoming more extravagant with each passing day. On social media, her life looked perfect. She posted photos from exclusive parties, fine dining restaurants, and high-end boutiques. Her follower count soared, and she was flooded with comments of admiration and envy. She was finally living the life she had always dreamed of, and the 50 million prize at the end felt like the ultimate validation. She was winning, or so she thought. However, as the months dragged on, the glittering facade began to crack, revealing a horrifying reality underneath. The perfumes and deodorants could no longer contain the putrid smell that clung to her like a second skin. A thick, grimy layer of filth coated her entire body, and her once radiant skin became a canvas of horror. It started with an unbearable itch, a relentless torment that no amount of scratching could soothe. Soon, angry red rashes erupted all over her body, turning into painful, oozing sores. Her beautiful, long hair became a matted, greasy mess, infested with lice that crawled over her scalp. The glamour she had so carefully constructed was decaying from the inside out. Her social life, once the cornerstone of her identity, crumbled into dust. Friends who had once flocked to her side now recoiled in disgust. They would whisper behind her back, their noses wrinkled at the foul stench that announced her arrival. Dates would end abruptly, with men making flimsy excuses to escape her presence. The invitations to exclusive events stopped coming. She became a pariah, isolated by the very secret she was keeping. The loneliness was a heavy cloak, suffocating her. She found herself trapped in her luxurious apartment, a gilded cage where she was left alone with her filth, her pain, and the haunting realization that her dream was turning into a waking nightmare. The money no longer seemed worth the torment. The physical decay was only the beginning of her horror. Her mental state began to unravel. The constant discomfort, the social rejection, and the sheer disgust of her own condition pushed her to the brink of insanity. She suffered from vivid nightmares, tormented by visions of her own decaying body. During the day she was plagued by paranoia, convinced that everyone knew her secret and was judging her. She would spend hours staring at her reflection, weeping at the grotesque figure that stared back. The beautiful, confident girl who had entered into the deal was gone, replaced by a broken, tormented soul haunted by her own choices. She was a prisoner in her own body, counting down the days not with anticipation, but with sheer, desperate agony. One night, driven by a desperate need for answers and a sliver of hope for release, Amara decided to do the unthinkable. She broke the rules of her confinement and followed Chief Adebayo. She tailed his car to a remote, foreboding location deep in the outskirts of the city, a place that pulsed with a dark and ancient energy. Hidden in the shadows, she watched as the chief met with a terrifying native doctor, a man whose eyes held the wisdom of sinister, otherworldly knowledge. Amara's blood ran cold as she overheard their conversation, and the true, horrifying purpose of her one-year challenge was finally revealed. Her suffering was not just a rich man's bizarre game. It was a critical component of a diabolical money ritual. The native doctor explained that for Chief Adebayo to renew his immense wealth and power, a sacrifice was needed. But it wasn't a simple sacrifice of life. The ritual required the accumulated filth, misery, and spiritual decay of a human being who had willingly given up their purity for a year. The rashes, the sores, the stench, and the mental anguish were not just side effects. They were the very ingredients for the dark magic. Amara was not a participant in a challenge. She was the vessel for the ritual. She was the sacrificial lamb, and the final step of the ritual, to be performed on the 365th day, was for Chief Adebayo to bathe in the water used to wash all the accumulated filth from her body. By absorbing her year of decay, he would be spiritually reborn with unimaginable power and wealth. The realization hit Amara like a bolt of lightning, shattering the last remnants of her sanity. She was not meant to win 50 million naira. She was meant to be consumed, her essence used as fuel for another man's greed. She had been tricked, her ambition weaponized against her. She wasn't a slay queen on the verge of a big payday. She was a walking, talking sacrifice, groomed for a dark and terrible purpose. The glamour, the money, the fame, it was all a lie, a carefully constructed trap to lure her into a fate worse than death. The twist was more cruel and horrifying than anything she could have ever imagined. She had chased a dream, but had run straight into the arms of a demon. The story of Amara serves as a chilling and powerful warning. It is a grim reminder that the glittering allure of fast money and instant fame often hides a dark and dangerous reality. In a world obsessed with appearances, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: our health, our dignity, and our humanity. The chase for clout and a slay queen lifestyle can lead down a path of self-destruction, where the price of luxury is one's own soul. So we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice for our ambitions? Let Amara's tragic tale be a lesson to us all. Before you chase the shimmer of gold, be sure to check the darkness of the shadow it casts, because sometimes the most tempting offers are the ones that lead to the most devastating ends, and by the time you realize the trap, it's already too late.